Welcome to the Echoes of Evidence crime thriller podcast, Algorithm of Death. A reclusive male tech prodigy turns predator when he begins using generative AI models, voice synthesis, and deepfake personas to manipulate and lure his victims. 5 women, each with a unique vulnerability that the killer's AI system exploits.
The investigation follows a digital forensics task force as they uncover how human obsession and artificial intelligence intertwine. Episode 1, Echo Chamber. She's 26. She plans her posts a week ahead. She filters comments to hide the nasty ones. A new follower shows up and writes 3 perfect compliments in a row. Nothing creepy, just kind and specific.
No push for a phone number, no links, just warm support, and a "we should collaborate" that lands on the exact hour she usually answers her DMs. Who's ever behind it knows her schedule like a map.
Another message lands. Polite, friendly, like it already knows her schedule. Loved your last shoot. Small campaign, quick and easy. There's a calendar link with a perfect 30-minute slot sitting right between yoga and editing. The studio address looks familiar from other creators' posts. The email signs off with an intern's first name and a smiley. Nothing screams fake. It all feels normal.
The page looks real because it's made to. The logo's a good copy. The building exists. The room number? It's the kind no one checks. The email looks right at a glance. 1 letter off, but your eyes forgive it. No weird files. Just a big confirm button. And when she taps it, a tiny tracker, basically an online read receipt, notes her device and time zone. Everything about it, the timing, the tone, the design, is meant to catch her when she's most likely to say yes.
She leans into the mirror, wiping off the last of her makeup from a long day. The apartment feels smaller at night, except for the fan. She scrolls through her phone, double-checking the invite. Time, place, small crew. It's neat, short, nothing that raises a flag. She sets the phone down and starts getting ready, pulling her hair into a loose bun, touching up mascara, steadying herself in the reflection. She tells herself, it's work. You've done this 100 times.
The email's still open on her laptop. It looks perfect. Her name's right. Logo's sharp. Polite wording. Whoever made it knew how to make it look professional. The studio's address? It checks out on a quick map search. The kind of building she's driven past before. She packs a small bag, a charger, compact, lip gloss, and leaves the light on low. 1 last look in the mirror. Everything seems normal. That's how traps work. They feel ordinary right up until they don't.
The car pulls up exactly on time. The driver's photo looks ordinary. Neutral smile, baseball cap, no red flags. She glances at the name on her screen, then at the dashboard tag. It matches. She opens the door, shaking off the rain, and slides into a warm seat that smells faintly of air freshener and coffee. He greets her by her name. His voice, casual, practiced. She answers with a polite laugh, trying not to sound nervous. On her phone, the app says, Studio, 18 minutes. Simple enough. The city outside glows with wet lights, bleeding colors together through the window.
From the front seat, he seems calm. Eyes on the road, hands at 10 and 2. The picture of normal. But a small second screen glows by his knee, tucked low where passengers don't notice. It updates her location faster than the app does. A small speaker clicks, almost too quiet to hear, feeding instructions in a steady digital whisper. A new route flashes on his display. Detour ahead. Slower but cleaner. She doesn't question it. Drivers do this all the time. The dashboard clock blinks the wrong time. A few minutes fast, but she doesn't see it. Her phone buzzes once for a message that never loads. She sighs, leans her head against the window, and watches the city slide by. Each turn feeling slightly off, but too small to argue with.
Street lights slide across the glass like slow waves. She watches the city smear into lines. Storefronts shut for the night. A bus shelter with 2 people sharing a hood. A bakery sign still glowing. Her phone tries to send a location pin to her friend and gives up. Wine gray bubble, then nothing. She types, running late, 20 minutes, saves it, and pockets the phone. The heater hums warm against her knees. She breathes with the wipers, left, right, left, counting without meaning to. A billboard for the same brand that booked her rolls past. It feels like a good sign. She tells herself she'll eat after the shoot. She tells herself it's fine.
The car keeps a steady pace, but the route has shifted a block at a time. Small changes that don't announce themselves. A left where the app usually takes a right. A quiet frontage road instead of the main. The driver taps the steering wheel in a rhythm that matches the tiny speaker by his knee. When the light hits the dash just right, there's a second map reflected in the windshield. Lines and dots, arranged like a private guide. He nods at it once and merges. In the rear view, her face is just a shape, framed by raindrops. Eyes on the glass. The city hum stays outside the car like weather you can't name. Ahead, an off-ramp sign appears. Clean and green. The kind you don't question because you've seen 1,000 like it. They step into a warehouse room dressed up to look like a studio. A white wall curves at the bottom like a paper backdrop. Tape X's mark where someone should stand. 2 ring lights sit on light stands, bright circles pointed at empty spots. The floor is too clean. No scuffs, no cable snags, no dropper gaffer tape. Smells like sanitizer and fresh paint. Not a place where people work, more like something set up this afternoon. On a folding table, a lint roller, a box of tissues, 3 bottles of water with the labels peeled off, and a clipboard with a blank sign-in sheet.
Her name is written on a small whiteboard near the door. Neat handwriting, first and last. Next to it, someone sketched her brand colors with markers on a sticky note. There's a rolling rack with 2 empty hangers and a mirror leaning against the wall, the kind you buy from a big box store. No makeup lights, No cords coiled in a pile. No crates stacked in the corner. Just the basics. She rubs her arms against the chill and asks where the rest of the crew is. The driver says they're on their way and points to a stool at the edge of the light.
Little details don't match a real booking. The clock on the wall blinks 12 like it never got set. The power strips glow, but nothing's plugged in. One of the ring lights flickers once, then steadies. An exit sign over the back door has a tiny dark circle in the corner, small enough to miss unless you're looking. The room has a live echo, that hard sound you get when there are no curtains or soft walls to catch it. He tells her it'll be quick, just a few test shots, and gestures for her to place her bag at the table.
She checks the bathroom. The door opens onto a narrow space with a utility sink, a hand towel folded too neatly, and a plastic soap pump that looks brand new. No personal stuff, no crew jackets. Back in the main room, she scrolls her phone for a bar of signal and gets one blink of service. Then, nothing. She glances at the hallway she came from. The door's already shut and heavy, the kind that closes itself. She takes the stool, smooths her shirt, and forces a smile toward the empty lens. The ring lights make her eyes water. He's already there when she comes back from the bathroom. Plain jacket, plain shoes, the kind of crew you stop noticing after a heartbeat. He offers a small, closed-mouthed smile and a half wave, the polite sort that doesn't ask for conversation. Up close, he smells like laundry soap and doorway sanitizer. Nothing sharp enough to remember. Just setting levels, he says, voice low and steady, as if the rest of the team is always 5 minutes away. He points at the tape decks, and she takes the stool, smoothing her shirt and tucking a strand of hair behind her ear.
His eyes move in a slow circuit. Floor marks, the table, the door, then her, checking the room like a list. A muted phone in his palm. He raises it as if he's checking the light, and then he lowers it again. The phone screen flashes with a thin circle of light, then dims. He turns up a light one click. Her eyes tighten against the brightness. On the table, a clipboard sits unused, pen uncapped and waiting. Over the back door, the exit sign has a tiny dot in its lens. Easy to miss unless you're looking. He slides half a step to the side, close but not blocking. Chin up, a touch left, he says, calm and steady. Inside his shoe, his heel rocks a quiet, regular beat while the room stays very still.
It unfolds in a few quick, quiet seconds. She follows his cue. Chin up, a little left, and the stool shifts just enough to throw her off balance. His hand meets her mid-move, not to catch, but to steer, turning the stumble into something practiced and calm. Fabric bunches, her breath locks. A small piece of metal skitters across the concrete and settles. The ring lights stamp bright circles on the floor, and the room's echo tightens, as if the air is holding still. When the noise fades, it's quiet. He lowers her carefully, smooths the cloth under the stool, and the room settles.
The room accepts the new shape without complaint. The clock keeps time like nothing changed. He works in measured movements. One corner, then another, smoothing edges with the care of someone who hates wrinkles more than noise. The table stays neat, the blank clipboard untouched, the pen still uncapped. On his phone, the screen wakes and shows a dark preview. No picture. Just a bar moving left to right, then sleeps again. He checks the door with a glance, listens for hallway life, and hears only rain echoing through the ducting. In the pause that follows, he adjusts the light half a notch, turns the brightness down, and lets the room fall back to quiet.
By morning, the city has already moved on. A delivery truck idles outside her apartment complex. Neighbors walk dogs that sniff puddles like the night never happened. The news alert hits phones first. Local content creator found. 3 words that say everything and nothing. Her followers wait to a pre-scheduled post. Be safe out there. Likes bloom before anyone knows why they're clicking them. Comments filled with confusion, condolences, and a few questions that disappear as fast as they're asked. A friend texts her number again out of habit, watches it stay unread, then tells herself the service is down.
The story spreads fast. First the blogs, then the morning shows. Each repackaged headline smoother than the last. A short video clip loops. Police lights flashing across wet pavement. No sound except for the rain. Her last uploaded story plays beside it. Bright and harmless. Captioned with a sunrise emoji. The gap between the 2 clips is the space where the truth should be, but nobody asks where it went. On her account, the algorithm keeps doing its job, suggesting, tagging, and recommending her older work. The feed doesn't know she's gone. It only knows engagement. And death, it turns out, performs well. The morning briefing takes place in a low-ceilinged conference room that smells like printer ink and old carpet. A handful of people crowd around the glowing screen. Cybercrime, violent crimes, the ADA, and a profiler who hasn't slept yet. The table is a college of half-drunk coffee cups, manila folders, and sticky notes written in tight, impatient handwriting. Her photo sits at the center of the screen, framed by tabs of data, DM logs, rideshare timestamps, security footage gaps. The projector hum fills the silence between questions. The team doesn't talk about who she was. Well, not yet. They talk about what's missing: 9 minutes of footage, 1 ghosted message, and a rideshare that doesn't exist in any system but hers.
The profiler flips through a printout of her last 24 hours. Red pen circling habits that look too perfect. Response times, posting windows, her location tags never repeating. She was mapped, he says flatly, meaning someone built a routine out of her life like clockwork. Another officer scrolls the email headers. Legit logos? Domain names off by a letter. Nothing any spam filter would catch. The tech specialist traces a phantom trail from the booking confirmation back to a server in a country with no extradition treaty. A pin drops on the map. Another joins in. The group grows quiet. Nobody says cereal. Not yet. But the air has already changed. The shift that comes when a random crime starts to look rehearsed. The tech team digs into her comment threads first. Hundreds of compliments, each one neat and oddly precise. Love your energy? You're so consistent. Lighting's perfect again. It reads human, but not quite lived in. The phrasing repeats across posts with surgical regularity, like someone studying her speech patterns and mirroring them back. Every love lands in the same place, in the same sentence. Every emoji in perfect proportion. They cross-check the accounts. Different names, different photos, all smiling in the same 3 poses. None older than 6 months. The replies are polite, generic, forgettable. Too balanced to belong to real people who get bored, or angry, or distracted.
A digital forensics officer runs a language model comparison. Each post is 98% unique and 2% identical, just enough overlap to stay invisible. Whoever wrote them wasn't guessing. They were feeding an algorithm her tone, her word choice, and the kind of praise that keeps people hooked. The profiler that messaged her came from a chain of dummy servers, layers of fake names, temporary email addresses, and cloud IDs that vanish after a few hours. The account isn't just following her, it's learning her. Every like, every post, every photo reshapes its responses. What looks like a fan is really a reflection, one polished until it can fool the person it's copying. In the lab, the voice memo plays her friend's voice on loop, or something close to it. The first few words sound perfect, the kind of natural warmth that makes people trust. But then the rhythm stumbles. Breaths fall between words like they were placed there afterward. The tech freezes the waveform on screen, each sound stretched into bright colored bars. Real speech looks messy, uneven. This one is too clean, edge trimmed smooth. The pauses are identical, the vowels exact copies. It's not an imitation, it's an assembly. He runs it again at half speed. The warmth remains, but it has no pulse, no tiny mill sounds, no nervous breath, and no weight.
She listens beside him, eyes fixed on the spectrum as he zooms in tighter. The sound file reveals what the ear can't. Processed through a generator, scrubbed by a noise filter. Time-stamped 30 seconds after the message supposedly went live. It means someone built it, stitched together words from other recordings, then ran them through a program that teaches voices to smile. They call it voice cloning on the dartboards. The same software sold to ad agencies and call centers. But here, it's turned into bait. The sound is almost human. And almost is all it takes. When she plays it again without headphones, the voice fills the lab. Warm, confident, utterly empty underneath. The digital forensic room smells faintly of dust and static, a mix of old wiring and warm plastic. Monitors line the wall, each one showing a different piece of her last day. Screenshots, chat windows, a ride receipt. A technician scrolls through the original voice memo, watching code spill down the screen. Hidden inside the file is a faint digital stamp, the same kind that marks photos with date and location. But this one doesn't match her phone's setting. It's from a different device, a different country, 1 hour off her time zone. Every file tells a story if you know how to read it. And this one's story says, manufactured. Even the compression, the way the audio was saved, feels too clean, like a copy of a copy that never went through human hands.
prints the header data and holds it under the UV lamp. A faint string of numbers glow in purple light. A watermark most people would never see. It's a kind of serial number left behind by software meant for audio enhancement. The same watermark appears in the booking email and a text confirmation sent minutes before the ride. Each file has been polished by the same invisible machine, one that corrects mistakes too perfectly. The analyst leans back, eyes on the overlapping codes. The evidence just doesn't tell them how she died. It tells them who built the tool that made it possible.
Copy that. We sent some over 216, okay? 2124 here. We calculated.
In the operations room, her rideshare log expands across a large monitor. Blue routes, red timestamps, and a trail of GPS breadcrumbs that should be simple. But the details start bending the longer they stare. The ride was booked from an account that looks freshly made. No profile photo, no ride history, no saved home address. The route begins normally, following familiar roads. But 5 minutes in, the map takes a strange little detour that the app never reported. A left turn that bypasses a busy intersection. A quiet industrial street. Then emerge back onto the original path as if nothing happened. The detour is so subtle, it would feel like traffic to anyone sitting in the back seat.
A tech overlays the official routes from the rideshare server, and the lines don't match. Her phone shows one trip, the company's system shows none. It's as if the ride existed only on her screen. The driver profile is equally thin, a name that appears in no database, a car model that doesn't exist under that plate, and a 5-star rating pulled from accounts that were all created on the same day. A second device ID shows up in the handshake between her phone and the car, an extra digital shadow writing alongside the real connection. Someone spoofed the ride, shaped the route, and controlled what she saw. To her, it looked like a normal drive. To them, it was a guided path with every turn chosen for her. Security office is a cramped room with old monitors stacked like bricks, each screen flickering with grainy footage. They rewind the loading dock camera to the minute her rideshare should have passed. The footage looks normal at first. Wet pavement, a forklift parked crooked, a stray cat darting between pallets. Then, for exactly 9 minutes, the screen goes milky. Not blacked out, just a pale wash, as if someone dragged a finger across the lens or the camera blinked. When the picture returns, the sedan is already pulling away. Its license plate isn't visible, swallowed by a flare of white light from the overhead sensor. It's too bright to be an accident, too clean to be the weather.
They scrub frame by frame. The taillights pulse as the car turns. And that's where they catch it. The left brake has a small chip at the edge. A defect the manufacturer recalled 2 years ago. Not everyone got it fixed. That chip becomes the first trace of something real. They zoom in, enhance, freeze. The reflection on the wet asphalt shows the outline of a second camera mounted inside the car. One that shouldn't be there. The angle is strange. Low. Hidden. Pointed at the passenger seat. The officers exchange a look. Whoever planned this didn't just want to pick her up. They wanted to watch her the entire way.
Copy that. We sent some over 216, 10-4 here.
While one team pulls apart her messages, another digs into a different mailbox. The kind most people never see. It's not on her phone. It belongs to a hidden account, tied to a prepaid card and a fake name. The inbox is full of automatic emails. Welcome to our service. Your trial has started. Password reset successful. Dozens of them, all from companies that sell AI tools, voice generators, image editors, bulk email platforms, anonymous number apps. Each sign-up lands within minutes of the last. Like someone walking down a digital shopping aisle and grabbing one of everything. The dates line up too neatly. Every time she gained new followers or tried a new format, he added another tool to his kit, as if he was matching her growth step for step.
Receipts fill the folders. Small charges scattered across different services, so no bank flag goes up. $10 here for extra voice styles, $15 there for premium automation, a handful of tiny international fees that don't look like much on their own. The subject lines are dry, but the picture is loud. He wasn't just texting from the shadows. He was building a whole system around her. One email thanks him for feeding new training data into a model. Another offers tips on making your AI sound more human. The team prints them out, lays them across the table. On paper, the pattern is impossible to ignore. To her, it looked like random noise in the world. To him, it was a control panel.
Instead of digging into messages or accounts, this team studies something different. Her routine. They spread out a week of her posts, her streams, location tags, even the timing of her morning coffee orders. Every habit forms a dot on the board. When they connect them, a rhythm appears. When she wakes, when she edits, when she's offline long enough for a workout, and when she answers DMs. None of it is unusual by itself. But the profiler points out that someone else has been shadowing these patterns, adjusting their own activity to match her peaks. Wherever her schedule dips, his presence rises. Not in words, not in calls, just in timing. It's the kind of tracking you do not to talk to someone, but to predict them.
They map her movements. Favorite cafe? The gym she tags twice a week. The side entrance she uses at her apartment because the elevator is too slow. Someone has been syncing to these spots without ever showing up physically. Ad clicks follow her. Anonymous views match her logins. Even her phone's weather app shows requests triggered at the same exact moments she steps outside. It's all data, harmless on its own, unsettling together. The conclusion is simple, but heavy. He didn't follow her conversations. He followed her life. Not what she said, but where she was, when she moved, what she relied on. He didn't need to know her personality, to know her pattern well enough to step inside it. They start with the people who saw her last. Neighbors, store clerks, a barista who remembers her order. The stories almost match, but never perfectly. One neighbor swears he heard her leave around 9. Another says she left earlier, carrying a bag she didn't bring back. The barista remembers her smiling, but can't recall if she paid with her phone or her card. Every version is close, but not close enough. Like they're all remembering a shadow instead of a person. The detectives circle details on their notepads. Tiny mismatches that shouldn't matter on their own.
Then there's the rideshare driver from 2 nights before. The real one. The one she rated 5 stars. He shows them his logs and swears she didn't act nervous. Didn't mention any new booking. But he hesitates when they ask him about the car that followed them halfway home. I thought it was just taking the same route, he says, rubbing his face. I didn't think it was anything. A clerk from the corner store adds her own detail. A man in a hood stood too still, pretending to read the lottery board while watching the exit. None of the witnesses give the detective a full picture. They give fragments. But fragments, when lined up the right way, start pointing to someone who wasn't supposed to be there. And someone who watched her life from the edges. The evidence table in the task force room looks like a small convention booth. Rows of security badges arranged in neat lines, each from a different building she visited in the last month. Some are real, collected from front desk logs. Others are counterfeits the tech pulled from the suspect's devices, exact copies with slightly altered barcodes. The detective runs a badge through a scanner. It beeps green, even though the ID number belongs to a janitor who hasn't worked there in a year. Another badge has a sticker over the original QR code, a cheap cover-up that worked anyway. They compare lamination seams, corners, fonts. Real ones have scuffs. They have fingerprints, worn clips. His copies are too clean, too straight, like they were printed in one sitting and never worn by a human.
One badge catches their attention. A studio pass with her name on it, identical to the one she showed at a shoot 2 weeks before, except the date is wrong by a day, and the signature line is blank. The plastic smells new, as if it came straight off the printer. A detective holds it under a lamp and spots a faint line where the hologram should bend. The counterfeit doesn't. This badge wasn't meant for her to use. It was meant to get him past the desk, past the camera, past suspicion. They sift through more. Badges for warehouses, co-working spaces, service doors, all tied to places she worked her pass through. He didn't need keys or code. The van sits in a lower-level parking bay, tucked between 2 concrete pillars as if trying not to be seen. At first glance, it looks like every other tradesman's vehicle. White paint, no decals, a little grime around the wheel wells. But up close, the details go strange. The glue shadows of old stickers cling to the side panels, outlines of logos scraped off in a hurry. On the windshield, there's a faint circle from a suction cup mounted that should still be there, but isn't. When they slide the side door, the smell hits first. Cold metal, damp plastic, and something chemical, like glass cleaner. Inside, everything is too tidy. A folded tarp, a coil of extension cord, wipes in a sealed bag. No personal junk, no receipts, no coffee cups that prove a person lived there. Just tools arranged in the kind of order you create when you don't want to remember anything later.
A detective kneels and lifts the passenger side floor mat. Beneath it sits a Ziploc of silica gel packets. Dozens of them. The kind that protect electronics from moisture. The glove box holds a stack of burner phone packaging with the SIM slots punched out. The dashboard lights up under the flashlight. The odometer shows miles from neighborhoods she visited, yet the van is registered to a name that hasn't been active in years. The cargo area has extra tie-down hooks, installed in a neat grid. Far too many for any normal job. On the back wall, they find faint scratches that line up like something, or someone, was braced against it. The quiet hum of the nearby elevator drifts in as the detectives close the door. The van isn't just transportation. It's a workplace, a staging area, a place designed to be emptied fast, cleaned fast, and forgotten even faster. On the suspect's desk, buried under a stack of blank notebooks, they find a small black hard drive. No label, no markings, just a single fingerprint smudged on the casing. When the tech opens it, the screen fills with folders, named like moods instead of people. Calm night, cozy tone, reassure soft, urgent low, laugh short. Inside each folder are dozens of tiny audio clips. 2 seconds here, 5 seconds there. Fragments of women's voices stitched together from interviews, podcasts, live streams, even the casual phone recording. Every clip has been trimmed, cleaned, and filed with obsessive precision. A whispered inhale, the tail end of a giggle, a single drawn-out vowel. It's not content. It's not raw material. The kind of pieces you need to build a voice that can say anything.
When they play the samples through studio headphones, the voices overlap like a crowded hallway, even though all the recordings belong to strangers who never met. Some clips cut off just before the speaker finishes a word. Others fade in mid-sentence, leaving only a tone, a warmth, a rhythm. One folder holds longer files, monologues where he spliced bits together so cleanly the scenes almost vanish, but they're wrong in the same quiet way. No breath after long sentences, no background noise shifting, no moments where someone clears their throat or stumbles. Just perfect, empty speech. A detective scrolls to the bottom of the directory and finds a final folder labeled Drafts. Inside, a half-built voice model with her name on it. The waveform pulses with sound, but no face. Just code waiting for direction. Across the city, another woman starts her morning. Coffee in one hand, gym bag in the other. She scrolls through her phone while she waits in a lobby that smells like floor polish and damp cloths. An email sits at the top of her inbox, clean and friendly. We'd love to have you for a quick consultation. Flexible schedule? Pick any time that works for you. The sender uses the same cheerful intern name as before, only with different initials. The message matches her routine perfectly, offering a booking window right between her commute and a meeting she already planned. She hesitates only long enough to sip her coffee, then taps confirm. The appointment drops neatly into her calendar, colored the same shade as her real jobs. Nothing about it feels out of place.
What she doesn't know is that the real collaborator she thinks she's meeting is posting to social media across town, smiling from a rooftop event, tagging a location miles away. The service door instructions in her email led her to a hallway she's never used. lit by humming fluorescents and half-finished drywall. A camera above the exit captures her entering, but never shows who she's supposed to meet. On a nearby bench sits a discarded visitor's badge with its name strip torn off. No one claims it. Later, security will swear they never saw her check in. The building logs will show no record of her appointment. But her phone? It shows the booking is perfectly legitimate, right down to the reminder alert that chimes 5 minutes before she walks through that door. In the evidence lab, they place the ring light and mic stand from the warehouse room onto a stainless steel table. Under normal lighting, the gear looks untouched, fresh out of the box. No scratches, no fingerprints, nothing lived in. But when the technician switches on the UV lamp, faint streaks appear along the metal, thin lines in places where skin should never have touched. The marks aren't even fingerprints, they're smudges left by gloves. The kind that slide cleanly over surfaces but leave a ghost behind. On the mic stand's adjustment knob, a tiny fiber clings to the crease. Pale and synthetic, like something from the inside of a cheap work glove. They photograph everything, angles and scales, each image more telling than the last. These aren't signs of a struggle or a mistake. They're signs of someone who planned not to be seen.
When they move on to the folding table from the studio, the story sharpens. A straight line of residue sits where a clipboard had been placed with machine-like precision. Beside it, 2 small indents hint at the weight of something that had been set down gently and lifted cleanly. No drag, no hesitation. The corners of the table bear faint circular marks, too small for cups, too large for thumbprints, suggesting equipment that had been locked into place for a short time. A detective runs a cotton swab along the edge and lifts a trace of adhesive, the kind used for temporary mounts or hidden cams. Under fluorescence, the residue glows faintly, a soft violet smear. There's no chaos here, no panic, no rush. Everything about the trace evidence whispers the same thing. He walked in prepared, touched only what he meant to, and left nothing behind except for the shadows of his routine. The detectives gather everything they've pulled so far. Ride logs, camera stills, email headers, evidence photos, and they lay them out across the long conference table. What looked like scattered separate folders now falls into a quiet order. One officer draws a line connecting the fake booking email to the studio address. Another links the studio to the van's parking bay. Slowly, the board fills with arrows and circled dates, creating a timeline that feels unnervingly smooth. There are no gaps big enough to feel random, no rough edges where chaos should exist. Every step she took the night she vanished drips neatly into the next, like water flowing down carved stone. Each choice she made looks less like a decision and more like something gently nudged into place.
Then they add the newest piece, Victim 2, and the room changes. Her timeline slides into the first like a second waterfall, flowing the same direction and hitting the same points. A fake door here, a manipulated route there, a meeting that never existed. It's not coincidence, it's design. The profiler steps back, folding his arms, studying the 2 paths as they converge on the same narrow spaces. Hallways without cameras, parking areas with blind corners, rooms no one rents after dark. The detectives circle the overlaps in red, and the board begins to look less like evidence and more like a blueprint. Not of a building, of a method. Whoever is behind this isn't improvising. He's repeating himself, perfecting a pattern with each woman he draws in. By mid-afternoon, the task force room feels tighter. 2 timelines aren't a coincidence anymore. They're routine. A detective with circles under his eyes scrolls through the network logs, watching lines of data flicker and vanish. He pauses when he notices a string of late-night activity hitting the same server cluster at nearly the same times each night. 2:10 a.m., 2:31 a.m., 2:34 a.m. Tiny windows where someone logged in, downloaded something, and logged out. No messages, no files with names, just activity, like breathing. The tech zooms in, running a trace. The IP addresses rotate too cleanly to belong to a regular user. They look like someone hopping across stepping stones in the dark. It isn't what he's sending out that matters. It's what he's collecting.
Another detective overlays the server logs with the victims' timelines, and the fit is eerie. Every time the women went quiet, sleeping, working out, offline for longer than usual, the same burst of data hits appear. It's as if he monitored not their words, but their absence, watching for dips in activity the way fishermen watch the tide. The profiler leans over the table, tapping a pen against the merged graphs. He's not chasing them, he says. He's sinking to them. The room goes still for a beat. They've been pulling at threads, hoping one would break off clean and point to a person. Instead, they realize they've been following a rhythm, a pattern, a pulse belonging to someone who never steps into the light, only adjusts himself to move when his victims aren't moving at all. To flush him out, the task force builds a profile meant to trip every wire he's been using. Not a fake woman, the right kind of fake woman. Someone with a posting rhythm just messy enough to look real. A gym check-in in the wrong hour. A late-night selfie with imperfect lighting. A playlist share that doesn't match her tone. They build her schedule around believable flaws. Missed alarms, postponed meetings, random grocery runs. Every detail is chosen to tempt someone who's been tracking real women's routines. Her page goes live quietly, without ads or hashtags. Within an hour, it gathers the usual background of the internet. But they aren't waiting for the noise. They're waiting for a shadow.
In a small monitoring room next door, screens glow with her fake feed. The detectives watch the first anonymous view land, then a second, then 12 more. Too many, too fast, all coming from the same masked network he uses. The profile gets its first compliment. Generic, polite, the same tone he used before. Another message arrives seconds later. Short, warm, well-timed. The tech team sits up straighter. They didn't send out a lure at random. They built a pattern he couldn't resist repeating. When the new account receives a booking request, same wording, same fake intern name, same half-hour time slot, the room fills with quiet electric tension. He thinks he's found his next target. Instead, he's walked straight into theirs. The meat is set in a service corridor that looks like every other forgotten back hallway in the city. Off-white walls, scuffed baseboards, pipes exposed along the ceiling. A no public access sign hangs crooked on the door. Most people would turn around there. He doesn't. Cameras are tucked where he expects none. A pinhole lands in the exit sign. Another buried in a fake motion sensor. A third disguised as a screw head near the floor. He walks into the frame exactly on time, dressed in that same invisible way. Neutral jacket, ball cap, and cheap work boots. In his hand, the familiar coil of cable and a clipboard with a printed work order that would pass a 2-second glance. The keycard reader gives a friendly chirp as he taps. That sound is the only time that lock has ever accepted that card.
Inside, the studio they've built for him is close but not cramped. Just enough space for his habits to play out. A ring light awaits on a stand. A folding table holds a fake sign-in sheet, water bottle, and a badge with the Bates profile name on it. Down the hall, out of sight, a small tactical team stands ready, earpieces murmuring with quiet updates. From his point of view, it's another easy setup. No receptionist, no hustle. Just a quiet room and a woman on her way. He checks his phone. The fake messages they seeded are there, right where he expects them. He sets his bag down, tests the light with one quick tap, and glances toward the door, already planning how he'll guide this next client to the tape mark on the floor, without realizing, for the first time, that he's the one being guided. He moves through his routine without hurry. Bag unzipped, gear checked, cable rolled out in a neat loop on the floor. He lines up the stool under the ring light, tugging the legs to stop them from wobbling, just like every other time. On his phone, the big profile shows on my way, with a tiny typing bubble that never quite finishes. He doesn't notice. He walks his usual path. Door to light, light to stool, stool to table. Pacing the boundaries of the trap, he doesn't know he's inside. The exit sign's tiny hidden lens catches every step. Behind the fake motion sensor, a red light blinks once, then holds. Down the hall, he hears the distant ding of an elevator and assumes it's her.
The first sign that this isn't one of his scenes is the silence that follows. No heels on concrete, no nervous laughs in the doorway, just the soft double click of a radio, then another, closer. The door opens, not tentative but firm, and fills with 3 shapes in plain clothes, vests under jackets, hands empty but ready. "Don't move," the lead voice says. Not loud, not shaky, just certain. He freezes with a cable in his hand, eyes jumping to the corners of the room where he never expected glass. A second team closes from the side, stepping out from behind a false wall panel he thought was dead space. Cold plastic cuffs snap around his wrists before he can decide whether to talk, run, or lie. The clipboard on the table still shows today's date and a forged work order. The cameras keep recording as he's turned toward the hall, blinking in the ring's light afterglow, finally realizing he isn't the one directing what happens next. They sit him in a spare interview room. 4 walls, 1 table, and a camera in the corner that blinks every few seconds. He looks smaller here, folded into the metal chair like someone waiting for the dentist appointment rather than a felony charge. His hands rest on the table, wrists cuffed, thumbs rubbing tiny circles against each other in a slow, compulsive loop. When the detective presses record, he lifts his head, but doesn't meet anyone's eyes. He studies the table grain instead. The questions start simple. Name, address, employment, and he answers with the smooth, careful precision of a man accustomed to lying without much effort. He calls his fake IDs short-term contracts, calls the van work storage. He calls the AI tools harmless hobbies. His voice stays even, but the pauses between the words grow longer each time the detective slides a new photo across the table.
He shifts when they show him the overlap between his patterns and theirs. The fake appointments, the hidden cameras, the synthetic voice samples. I wasn't hurting anyone, he says, his tone drifting between confidence and pleading. I was helping them avoid creeps. I was keeping it curated. He says curated, like it's a virtue. The detective doesn't argue. He just asks why both women ended up in the same kind of room, at the same hour, with the same type of message pulling them there. The man's jaw tightens. The circles his thumbs make get smaller, faster. He asks if they're going to put his name in the press, if people will misunderstand his intentions. No one responds. The camera light blinks again, capturing every twitch in his jaw, every thin exhale. In the silence that follows, he finally looks up and realizes, maybe for the first time, that he isn't explaining anything. He's confessing without meaning to. Hours after they take him away, her account is still alive on screens. A scheduled post she wrote days ago finally fires. Nothing dramatic. Just a bright photo from an old photo shoot and a caption that reads, "Little reminder to drink some water and be kind to yourself." People flood the comments. Some not yet knowing what happened. Others writing like they're standing at a memorial. Hearts stack up under her name, more than she ever saw when she could answer them. A friend types a message, deletes it, types another, and sends it anyway, even though she knows no one will type back. The app scrolls on, offering more videos, more faces, more noise, as if her absence is just a tiny gap the feed can smooth over.
In the task force room, they power down the monitors one by one, leaving the evidence wall glowing faintly in the dark. A map of routes, doors, symbols, and timestamps that tell a story the headlines never will. Someone boxes up the hard drives. Someone else locks away the badges and cables. The clock on the wall keeps ticking toward the next case, whether they're ready or not. Outside, the rain's finally stopped. The streets shine with leftover water that reflects every light twice. Somewhere in that reflection, another screen lights up on another nightstand, and another notification chime cuts through the dark. For most people, it's nothing. For the team that's just watched a man turn code into a weapon, it's a reminder the messages don't stop just because one sender does.
This was episode 1 of Algorithm of Death, Echo Chamber. One victim, one pattern, one voice that didn't need force to get in. It only needed the right moment.
But the story doesn't stop here. The system he created is still out there, learning, adapting, and reaching farther than anyone expected.
Next week, we follow a new case file and a new target. Another message delivered at the perfect time. Another routine turned inside out.
Episode 2, Synthetic Love. Because every crime leaves a trace, and every trace leads somewhere.
Watch for it. Synthetic Love drops next week.